Alright boys, what's going on? So I just wanted to clear some things up right here at the beginning of the video. I just got done re-watching the main portion of the story time, and there was a couple of things that I missed that I wanted to clear up. So first thing, I did say that my manager came out to my car on Valentine's Day and promised me a raise. I later found out that that manager never even attempted to get me a raise, so that was complete bullshit, which is one of the reasons why I hated that manager and reacted the way I reacted when it came down to them asking me to pay for the soup. The second thing I wanted to clear up, I did actually have a conversation with my general manager about how much I was getting paid, and she basically said that I needed to start a new position in order for her to put in the new raise, I guess, because she has to ask her boss for it or whatever. But I basically said that that was bullshit because I already knew every position in the back except for the one position they wanted me to learn, and I was getting paid the same as someone who only knew how to do one position, and I knew how to do 6 already, so I wasn't really trying to have that. So I just wanted to clear those two things up really quickly because they weren't very clear throughout the rest of the story. With that being said though, I do hope you boys enjoy the story. I have no idea how it managed to get 30 minutes long. I even re-listened to it a couple of times. It doesn't feel like a 30-minute story, but nonetheless, I hope you boys do enjoy the story. Let's get into it. Alright boys, what is going on? Welcome back. So I'm sure most of you guys who have been watching my channel for the past week know that I recently just got fired from my job, and honestly, I got fired for something pretty stupid. And I did stream later in the day, the same day that I got fired, and I did tell the story of me getting fired in that stream, but that was my first time streaming in literally almost 2 years, if not 2 years. So I thought it would be best to just go ahead and make a separate video explaining how I got fired. Now, before I tell you exactly how I got fired and what led up to me getting fired, let me explain to you just exactly how much I worked for this place. So I worked on average 42 to 54 hours a week, every single week for this place for almost 6 months straight. Never once did I call out of work sick. Never once did I ask for a day off or ask someone to pick up a shift for me. And anytime they called me and asked me to come in, whether that was 8 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock in the morning, I would show up. Now, maybe many of you watching this video might think that's normal, and for me that's normal as well, but you may be surprised when you're working in certain industries, especially industries that don't hold their employees for a long time. These motherfuckers are fucking lazy. It's actually unbelievable how lazy some people are. It honestly blows my fucking mind. The reason I say all of that is not to brag about how hard I work, but just to let you know that I wasn't some bum ass worker. I worked really hard for this place, and I went above and beyond for this place. Now, I started working for $15 an hour, which most places in the United States is pretty good, but unfortunately where I live, $15 an hour won't even allow you to live by yourself. But quickly, a couple months into me working, I actually moved my way up to $16 an hour, and honestly at the time I was pretty happy about that. And honestly, I was pretty happy about that $16 an hour until like last month. Now, this $16 an hour thing is where this entire situation is going to start, and unfortunately it's where it's gonna end as well. So like I said, about a month ago, my attitude towards how much I was getting paid completely changed. Now, the reason my attitude towards this place changed so much is because right around Valentine's Day, and honestly a couple of weeks before Valentine's Day, so right around a month to a month and a half ago, it started to get a lot busier at the restaurant that I worked at. And honestly, the restaurant was already fairly busy, but it had hit a point where it was insanely busy, and we were pretty low staffed. I'm not gonna lie, we literally had 4 people on a line that was supposed to have 4 people, like 4 people employed to be on the line, not 4 people at once, 4 people in total that could be on the line. So on nights nights that we were supposed to have 3 people online, we would have 2, and nights where we were supposed to have 4 people online, we would only have 3. So obviously during this time, my job, or my old job, must have gotten pretty desperate to hire people, because without me knowing at the time, obviously, and without any of us knowing, they upped the starting pay to $16 an hour. So instead of having to work up to $16 an hour, they were starting to hire people at $16 an hour, which is what I worked up to for months. Now, I don't know if they were offering people raises from $16 an hour to 17, but considering they did that from 15 to 16 for me and most people, I'm assuming they were going to do that for them as well. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys are wondering, Slaqin, how exactly did you figure this out if they weren't telling people? So one day I was scheduled to be on Dish, and at this point in time, it was uncommon for me to be on Dish. When I first started, I was always the dishwasher, but at this point, I was never the dishwasher. So when I first walked in, they instantly told me that they put me on Dish that day because I was gonna be training somebody new, and they wanted me to train them how I do the dishes and how I close the dish pit because I was so good at it. And I was okay with that, I was fine with it. And really nothing was significant about this person or this day of me training him besides this one thing. Honestly, I don't even remember what we were talking about, but randomly he just asks me, "Yo bro, how much do you get paid?" And I said more than likely a little bit more than you, but I worked up to get to this point. So he asked me again, "Well, how much do you get paid?" And I said $16 an hour, and he said he also gets paid $16 an hour. They started him at $16 an hour. So obviously at that point I knew they were doing some fuck shit, but I didn't freak out right then and there. I didn't start fucking flipping tables. I didn't go talk to the managers right away. I wasn't even mad at the dude. I didn't even seem mad at the dude at the time. I just kind of said, "Oh shit, that's hella cool," you know, gave him props. Because it really wasn't his fault. My guy was just trying to get his bag. The funny thing about it is that guy ended up quitting not too long afterwards, and literally everybody they hired since I started, other than 2 people, quit within a month, even though they started them at $1 higher than what I started at, which is pretty crazy just how low some people's work ethic is, because like I said, I was pretty happy working from 15 up to $16 an hour before I heard they were starting people at the same as I worked up to. Until I heard about that, I was completely okay with it. But anyways, like I said, after that guy told me, I completely stayed quiet about it, and I just continued to work, although I was pretty upset. And a couple of weeks go by, I'd say like a week and a half, 2 weeks go by, and Valentine's Day comes around. And little did we know at the time, this Valentine's Day was gonna be one of the busiest Valentine's Day the store I worked at had ever seen, presumably because of the fact that most people have been locked inside of their houses for the past 2 Valentine's Days before this one. Now, to add on to the fact that this was one of the busiest Valentine's Days in the history of my store, I also worked really weird weeks where I had a normal day on Monday, I had Tuesday, Wednesday off, a normal day on Thursday, but then Friday, Saturday, Sunday I worked double, so I came in around 10 or 11 and I wouldn't get out until close, so 9 p.m. And then Monday I would work a triple, so I would come in for truck in the morning at 7 o'clock in the morning and not get out until close at 9 p.m. Now realize that Valentine's Day, at least this year, I don't know about every year, but this year landed on a Monday. So I had just got done working a double Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and worked a triple on Valentine's Day, the busiest day of the year. It was absolutely horrific. You guys gotta realize I worked at Red Lobster, and I don't know if you've ever been inside of a Red Lobster, but it's pretty fucking busy a lot of the time. I don't know why. That food is fucking terrible, but people like their food for some reason and people go to that restaurant. But anyways, man, we did get through Valentine's Day, although I'm not going to lie, I was planning on actually finding a new job after that Valentine's Day. As a matter of fact, I was sitting in my car talking to my girl, literally about not wanting to work at Red Lobster anymore because I work too hard and they don't pay me enough for what I do. And as I'm talking to her about this, my manager comes up to my car and knocks on my window, and I open my door because my window is broken in my car right now, and he tells me that I did a really good job plating the food because that's what they had me doing, plating the food. And it sounds really easy, but it's not, because you have to know everything on the menu and what everyone's doing, and you have to think that everyone on the line is making something, and that one thing that they're making is coming to me. Since we were always so low on people, we didn't have 2 platers like we were supposed to, it was just me. So I was taking literally everyone's food and plating everything for every single person in the fucking restaurant. And as you could imagine, that is annoying enough, let alone on a Valentine's Day at Red Lobster. So he came and told me that I've been doing really good at plating recently and that he's actually going to try to get me a raise. And obviously that changed my attitude up a pretty good amount. I was pretty happy to hear he was trying to get me a raise. So for the time being, I actually decided to stay working at Red Lobster and not even look into getting another job at the time, because really I don't like meeting new people. That's why I make fucking YouTube videos, bro. I don't like talking to people, you know what I mean? Now a couple of weeks go by where I'm being completely nice, good attitude, working as hard as I possibly can, just like I've been for these 5-6 months I've been working at this place, or was working at this place. And eventually I hear nothing about my raise. So honestly, I start getting pretty upset because I'm doing nothing but working harder for this place, getting better at my job, and I'm getting absolutely nothing in return but getting worked harder. And eventually I realized, you know, if they're gonna pay me the same as someone who's starting brand fucking new, then why don't I work the same as someone who's starting brand fucking new? What the fuck do I look like showing up to this place, working my ass off every single day, going above and beyond, and getting paid the same as someone who's just barely showing up and barely working? I mean, there was this new dishwasher that started, and I get it, he's new, whatever, but bro was a year younger than me. He's 19, I'm 20, and he was fucking terrible, and we were getting paid exactly the same. And eventually I just hit a point where I couldn't show up every single day and work my hardest, knowing that shit in the back of my mind, knowing I could be here making videos for you guys, but I'm there. And honestly, every single day that I worked there, I just got angrier and angrier because all I could think about was the fact that I was getting paid the same as someone who's working significantly less than me, and I'm not even talking about hours. And eventually it all just kind of built up, and one night I was in the dish pit by myself because I actually asked them around this time to give me one dish pit shift a week so I could be left the fuck alone, because people really pissed me off, and the job they had me doing involved me talking to the servers and people and yelling at people and just being loud all day, and I hate that shit. So I was doing my dish pit shift, you know, and one of my managers actually came up to me while I was kind of roaming around, not really working too hard, honestly, and she goes, "Riley, can you go ahead and work a little faster? I want to go home and play Overwatch, and I don't want to be here all night." And usually if it wasn't for the circumstances we were in, I would have just said yes, of course. And honestly, if it wasn't for the circumstances we were in, she would have never had to ask that. But my response to her question was no, straight up no. I can't work any faster than what I'm working right now. And of course, working with me for the past 6 months, she knew damn well I could work a lot faster and harder than that, so she argued that exact point, but I stuck to where I was and I said I could not work any harder, and I kind of just walked away from the conversation. But a few minutes later I returned to talk to her once again, and after a few minutes of waiting for her to get done talking to someone else, I then proposed to her that if she would like me to work harder, then she needs to pay me more money to compensate for the work that I do. So this wasn't my GM, my general manager. This was one of my smaller managers, and she actually doesn't have anything to do with the raises, especially in the back, since she technically was the front manager. She was just closing that night with me. And I knew that, and I told her that I knew that. I was just letting her know how I felt about it. This was the first time I had said anything vocally to any of the managers. Now, it's unfortunate that this had to happen with her because I actually liked her. She was a really nice manager and a nice person, but I was at the point where I needed to get my point across no matter what way I did it. Now, that was not actually the situation that got me fired, but that was the beginning of me getting fired. That was probably 3, maybe 4 days before I got fired. So the next day that I went into work, everything was kind of cool, whatever. The other manager was there, the boy manager, the bald manager, and the one that actually got me fired. So when I got there, like I said, everything was cool, blah blah blah, but eventually, I'd say like 2 hours after me getting there, the boy manager pulls me aside, sits me down, and there is a write-up sheet right in front of me for what just happened with the other manager the other night. Now, this manager is the manager I did not like already going into this situation, and this was the same manager that came up to my car after Valentine's Day and promised me a raise. Although remember, this still is not my general manager. This is one of the other small managers and the back manager, which is my manager essentially since I worked in the back. And I fucking hate this guy, and I have for a while now, way before this situation happened. Always nitpicking me about the smallest little bitch shit, and he's always fucking crying, or was always crying, about me touching my girlfriend at work like I'm fucking her in the back or something crazy. Like, bro, I'm giving my girlfriend a hug. Let me RKO your little bitch ass since you want to say something about it. There was one time me and my girlfriend were walking into work. We weren't even in the building yet, and he comes pulling up into his car because he was bringing us some shit we didn't have. And he literally said, in a joking way, but you could tell he was being serious, "Come on guys, stop hugging in front of the lonely guy." And the reason I knew he was being serious just in a joking way is because he's always fucking crying about me hugging her. The only reason he didn't was because he technically wasn't on the fucking clock and we weren't in the building yet. Other than that, he still would have been crying like a little bitch or trying to tell me what to do just because he's my manager. Like, fuck you. So anyways, this short bald bitch pulls me aside and pulls me into the office and sits me down, and on the table is a write-up sheet, and I was getting written up for what had happened with my other manager the night before and something that happened with him the other day where I absolutely punked his shit when he tried to tell my girlfriend to move her drink outside of the employee drink area because I was back there, which he's not allowed to do. So when he came back around that corner, I set her fucking cup down in front of him and told him to his fucking bitch face that that cup's gonna fucking stay there. And guess what? The cup stayed there all night. So those were the two things I was getting written up for in the moment. And when I sat down, I basically told him that it was bullshit and I wasn't gonna sign it. And he said, "That's okay if you don't think it's true, but you still gotta sign it." And I said, "No, I'm not gonna sign it." So I went out there, showed my girlfriend, laughed about it, walked around the restaurant, laughed about it with some of the other co-workers of mine, and then I went back to work for the rest of the day. And nothing happened to me for the rest of the day. The next day rolls around. Now keep in mind, this is Sunday and I got fired on Monday. So this is the day before I got fired. Sunday rolls around and I'm a little behind this morning for work. As a matter of fact, I actually was late this morning, which I'm usually not late, but I was running behind. So I get there, I apologize for being behind, no one really says anything, no one's mad, and I get to work. And I believe I started work at 11 this morning, and I think at around 2 o'clock-ish, I realized that I am absolutely fucking starving. I did not eat this morning, and it's 2 o'clock, and I've been working since 11, and of course, that's not that much of work, but when you didn't eat in the morning, and it's 2 o'clock, and you've been working since 11, you're probably pretty hungry. And unfortunately, I was absolutely starving. And my job recently had had been cracking down on people eating food from the job, but I thought, you know what, I'm really hungry. I do work a lot. Let me just go get a little bit of soup. And by a little bit, I mean a little bit. Like, I wasn't using a spoon, but if I was, it probably would have been like 5, maybe 6 bites with the spoon. Like, literally, it was one ladle. Let me put a ladle up on the screen for those of you who don't know what a ladle is, but literally, that's it. One of these. Like, it was not a lot of soup at all. I tried to find the container that I put it in, like on the internet, but I literally couldn't. I just looked super hard. I literally couldn't. I don't know why, but it was one ladle in this little tiny container. Like I said, probably like 5 bites if I was using a spoon. And so I walk back to my station with my soup and I just kind of start eating it, and I was just gonna eat the soup and get straight back to work and not cause a problem whatsoever. That was not my plan when I showed up to work this morning. I just wanted to go to work and get my money and go home. But I start eating the soup and my short little bitch boy manager comes waddling around the corner and goes, "You gonna pay for that?" And instantly I say, "Fuck no, I'm not gonna pay for that shit." And he's all like, "Oh, you're not gonna pay for that?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not paying for it." And he's like, "Well, then that's stealing." And then I start going off, obviously. I'm mad as hell. I'm like, "How the fuck is this stealing? I'm just trying to eat some soup. I'm hungry." I was like, "I work all fucking day, all week for you guys, and you're telling me I can't eat a little bit of soup because I'm hungry, like literally starving right now?" And he was like, "Nope, you need to pay for it." And keep in mind, he was being an absolute douchebag while doing this, obviously because I just got done punking his ass like 2 fucking days ago. So he was being a little bitch. And I was like, fine, if I can't eat this soup right now, let me go on break. I'm literally starving. I can't work like this. He was like, "No, you're not going on break. You've only been here for 4 hours. And I was like, all right, bet. Then I'm eating the soup. And I start eating the soup. And he walks around the corner and he's like, all right, bet. That's how it's gonna be. And then right when he walks around the corner, I throw the soup in the garbage and I say, "Fuck your soup, bitch." And right after I say that, he comes back around the corner and he's all like, "What'd you say?" And I'm like, "Nothing, whatever. Get away from me. Get out of my face, blah, blah, blah." Now, little did I know, right as all of this is happening, I guess my general manager was pulling up to the restaurant to start her shift. She has no idea this is going on. She just so happens to be pulling up right at the same time. So after that interaction happens, you know, I have the soup now in the garbage. I begin walking around the back of the restaurant, talking to some of my coworkers again because I'm absolutely heated. Honestly, I genuinely considered walking out right then and there and quitting on the spot. And honestly, I should have. The only reason I didn't is because I didn't want to leave my coworkers hanging because I know that shit hurts. So after I walk around the back of the restaurant for a second, I go to the bathroom and then come back. And when I come back, my general manager is now there talking to the GM that I absolutely just bitched out. So they bring me into the office and sit me down, and my GM basically says they were gonna send me home because of the way I was acting, and I was absolutely okay with that. Now, I obviously did plead my case, of course I did, but my GM was being a bitch and took the side of my manager. Now, of course, I understand that you can't just eat the company's food all the time, but it was a tiny little bit of soup, and the soup's fucking disgusting. It's literally clam chowder and half and half. Like, it's not like some fancy ass nice ass soup. And I just feel like with the amount that I'm working, not just me, but anyone, if they're absolutely that hungry, they should be able to eat something without feeling like they're gonna lose their job or get in trouble or get written up or whatever it is, or have someone back there hovering over their shoulder talking about, "Are you gonna buy that?" or "That's stealing if you don't buy that." Like, get the fuck away from me. That shit is so disrespectful, in my opinion at least. These fucking managers make 60 to 70,000 fucking dollars a year. They don't make the fucking soup. We make the soup. And they want to talk about, are you gonna pay for that? Like, no, motherfucker, I'm not actually. Thank you. I don't make enough fucking money to pay for the soup. Do you want to pay me more? Then maybe I'll pay for your soup, bitch. So anyways, of course, I plead my case, but at the end of the day, I stood my ground and said I wasn't gonna pay for the soup. That was bullshit. I worked too hard to be asked to pay for some fucking soup, and I worked too hard for how much I get paid. So they sent me home and they said they would keep me updated about coming back in tomorrow and talking to them. So that's what I did. I went home and made a YouTube video, and then later that day they called me and said come back in tomorrow at 2 o'clock. So I did just that. I went there at 2 o'clock and they basically said word for word, between your attitude and the theft, which was the little tiny bit of soup that I ended up throwing away so I wouldn't get fired, they had no choice but to terminate me. So basically, because I called my manager a bitch, had a bad attitude for maybe a week out of the 6 months I worked there, and stole some soup when I was literally fucking starving, that is the reason I got fired from Red Lobster. Now, I am pretty curious to see what you guys think about this. I stand my ground on what I said. I don't think I should have had to pay for the soup. Now, I understand if I was doing that all the time, why it would have been an issue, but I wasn't, and I definitely don't think I should have got fired after throwing the soup away in an attempt to not get fired, because I really was hungry and I really should have just ate that fucking soup. Like, I was that fucking hungry. The fact that I'm that hungry at work and they'd rather make me pay for soup than just allow me to have it is so fucking mind-boggling that I just don't even know what to say. The fact that someone can be at work literally starving but not want to get something to eat because they're afraid that the managers are gonna make them pay for it is literally fucking pathetic, when in reality most people don't get paid enough for what they do, let alone get paid enough to fucking survive. But yet we have to fucking pay for something as minuscule as fucking soup. I'm glad I got fired. I should have fucking quit that job, but like I said, I was doing it for my coworkers. It's pretty sad that my job would rather prove a point and fire me when they have nobody to replace me, which will negatively affect the other people I work with. Is pretty sad. But this right here is exactly why it's my absolute dream to one day become my own boss and not have to fucking listen to nobody tell me what to do, not have anybody make my schedule. I want to make my schedule. I want to tell me what to do, because I just don't work well listening to other people. The way society works, unfortunately, just doesn't work for me, and it never really has. And I'm sure a lot of you young kings feel the same exact way. And I do absolutely appreciate you boys supporting me every step of the way, because this right here is the beginning of the journey to me becoming my own boss. Every comment, like, view, subscribe, everything leads to me becoming my own boss one day, and I thank you so much for that. With that being said, I think that's a perfect time to say thank you to my channel members, the ones that go above and beyond to help support my dream of not being bossed around and not having to fucking starve in fear that I'm gonna have to spend money I don't have on something I really don't want. I just want to fill my stomach. So thank you to Charles Ware, that archive guy. And now Isaiah_H is our newest member. Thank you so very much for your extra support, and thank you all for your most recent support. It's been absolutely insane. I'm sorry this video was so long. I did not know it was going to be this long. I definitely didn't expect it to be this long. It is now 5:34 in the morning, and I started making this probably around 1 a.m. So I definitely did not expect it to take this long. Thank you to anyone that actually stuck around to this point. If you did, say cookie down in the comment section to let me know that you're an absolute fucking god, and I'll see you in the next one. Like I said, boys, Slaqin's fucking back. Peace.